Yes, guys, welcome to Chasing Green Arrows. This is FPL Insight. I'm Gianni, the FPL guy, and I'm joined by co-host Mr. Dean Jones. Dean, how are you, mate?
Okay, mate. I had a bit of a rough weekend. Had a bit of man flu going on, but all got better last night and this morning. So yeah, I feel good to go. It was a slight doubt for this one, but managed to come through the fitness test,
We orange
and
flagged you. Orange
we go
flag.
again. Yeah, it would have been a proper orange flag. But yeah, I'm glad I've been able to make it because big show, and obviously going into an international break now as well.
Big show, and all my favourites are with us in the chat already. Shout out to Kev, Tiffany, Paul, FPL Focus, Steve, FPL River, Vindy's with us, CH is with us. All of the big names, all of the big names. If I've missed you, apologies. There's too many to name, but
All
it's
the
going to
big
be a fun
hitters.
hour. All the big
Yeah,
hitters, yeah.
nice
So
one. Thanks everyone for coming.
big hitter special tonight. Big hitter special. So yeah, thank you guys for joining. We have got proper good hour coming up. We're going to be showing our teams and how we got on over the weekend. I wildcarded, as some of you might remember. But we're also going to be going through FPL Visa. It's back. We're going to be doing my eye test report. It's back. Pick my team, of course. So good to see so many questions already coming in. We're going to start with Paul's question. It says, good evening. 62 points this week is okay-ish. I mean, yeah, it's a good week. Thinking Son for KDB. We both wrote Son off, didn't we, Dean? We said, look, this isn't a player you go to yet. Wait till he starts scoring. Now
Well,
he has started scoring.
Look, the
Do we
reason we
consider
said
him?
that is because he wasn't in form and we didn't think he was going to start that game, and we were right. He
Yeah.
didn't start that game because he wasn't in form, and it's one of the first times ever that he's been left out of the Tottenham lineup. So,
Yeah.
but the thing is, the other thing I've said about Son forever is that when it comes to an elite mentality, Son has it probably better than 99% of players in this league. Like, he could not have a better mindset as a Premier League footballer, and you saw it come through.
Yeah.
He was like, yeah, I'm taking this personally, and he had a point to prove. He did not like being benched, and you could tell even the way he was driving at players and sticking the ball away. It was like, you are not stopping me. Like, I'm a serious footballer. I'm one of the best players in this team. That will not happen to me again. And look, if you did pick Son, then fair play, like absolutely fair play. But I bet you were nervous at the start of that game when he was left on the bench.
Honestly, I can't remember a reaction like it at this point in the season. Like, we're talking about the first 8 game weeks here, and yeah, he's not had a Premier League goal, but he clearly carries a huge amount of pressure on his shoulders. He feels he is the talisman of that team, and he was last season. So to see him score and that sort of, he stood still and his shoulders dropped, it was like, you could see how emotional he was. And this is like, what, second month into the season? Yeah, it's fine. The team's still been winning, but it shows how big a deal he sees his role in this team. So I like that he's taken that responsibility on.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And now he's got those goals under his belt. Like, I think you can back him now. I think that usually what happens, Son is a streaky player. He's a consistently good player, but last season apart, when he's obviously like top scorer, he tends to score in runs.
Yeah.
And so I know we've got an international break now, but I would be willing to back that Son comes out the international break and scores in that first game back. Who is it?
Arsenal, big game. And FPL
Yeah.
Gaza, fair play. He took a punt. Loads sold Salah this week. A lot went for KDB. A lot went down to a sort of mid-priced asset. Gaza went to Son, and what a roller coaster of emotion seeing him out in that starting lineup. But as soon as he comes on against a tired Leicester, you think, I'm going to get 20 minutes against Leicester, who are knackered and so open. I would take that over 90 minutes against most Premier League opposition. Like, it was smart management by Conte. I think he went, this guy needs a goal, quite clearly. I'm going to put him on if we need him, or I'm going to play him in the last 20 when it's an open game and give Sonny some time and space. And he got time and space. And yeah, smart management.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm going to address Tottenham a bit more detail actually in the notebook, so stay tuned for that part.
Nice. Let's move on then to a question on screen. Ndembele, would you move from Kane to Archer? Archer's like the cheapest forward in the game, bench fodder. And then Andreas up to Salah for a -4. Oh, I don't know. I mean, look, loads that don't have Salah are panicking because they're going, he now faces Brighton.
Yeah.
And I need him in my team. And we just see FPL as this game where you pick 13 players. You have Salah and Trent, and then you pick 13 players. But I think there's enough premiums delivering at the moment when no player is okay. Haaland maybe at the moment, but other than that, the likes of Salah and Trent, it's okay if they come out your team. Not just during a blank game week where they don't have a fixture. It's okay to go sections of the season without these players. Why? Well, there's players delivering. So De Bruyne is matching Salah. Son might match or beat him. Cancelo is outperforming Trent. Reece James might do the same. For me, you shouldn't be too nervous about going without Salah for a week or two. Like, have a plan to get him in when you think you might need him. But it's okay to go a month without these guys. I'm going without Salah till game week 12, when Man City blank, and I will sell De Bruyne and Salah comes in. I'm happy to take the risk of going without him till then.
Yeah, I think in that first game week back, there'll be a lot of people who have now taken Salah out and either can't get back to him or aren't willing to go back this quickly. So you're not going to be in as bad a position as you usually would be if you haven't got Salah and he does score a couple against Brighton. So if ever there was a time not to worry about that, I think it probably is now. If you can get there, then maybe do. Like if you have the capability, then you might be that it gives you an edge that week. Obviously, they've got international break now. Like, don't make this decision tonight. Like, you can see this one out.
Game week 9 will be interesting. So, look, guys, give us a heads up. In the chat, write Salah or no Salah. I just want to see how many people, and this is to, will you own Salah in game week 9? So Salah would mean yes, you're going to own him. No Salah means you're not going to own him for game week 9. So I'm going to start us off with a no Salah in the chat. Just let us know, and we'll top up and see who's winning. I think there's going to be more no Salahs than Salahs, which is the first time ever. But let's move now to our eye test report. Loads more no Salahs than Salahs. Loving that. And those that do own him will probably, like Steve, give him the armband, which is a nice shout. But let's move on with the eye test report. Liverpool didn't play, so we're not going to talk Salah. We're going to talk 3 guys that caught my eye. Now, I'm not going to pick out 3 really popular assets each week because you know these guys, and I'm not going to try and sell them to you. No point in me coming and saying Haaland and Cancelo and De Bruyne. But we're going to start with Saka because Arsenal have really impressed me. And they've had a couple of tests recently. Like they went Old Trafford at 1-1. I thought they looked like the team that were going to win it. And sure, it didn't go their way. And they lost that football match. But I thought they came out of the game at Old Trafford still with a good performance in the bag. And it was their first defeat. How do they react to that? Well, they go and beat Brentford, which going to Brentford is not easy for the big teams. Big teams often go there and struggle. And they looked convincing throughout. This was a 3-goal win. It could have been way, way more. Arsenal never looked like conceding, despite Tony being on really hot form and getting the call up to the England squad. I thought that might be really good for Tony against Arsenal and thought, momentum might carry a goal in that game too, but barely had a sniff. And I look at Saka and think he's the guy we've probably all been ignoring. And Dean, I know you had him early in the season because you know how good he is. But Martinelli and Jesus have had their time. The defenders, Saliba's been amazing. Zinchenko's had moments. Odegaard's had huge moments, but Saka, he's been ticking along quite nicely in the last few games. He got a couple of assists at the weekend. He's starting to look like, to me, like the guy that's worth spending the extra 25% on Martinelli, because we've all got Martinelli. And look, I'm not saying you go swap them because I think you probably need to make those savings. We haven't got the money. But Saka at the moment looks like he's delivering 20% above Martinelli. And at 8 million-ish price point, he's just cheaper than 8. I think he's the best 8 million mid in the game still. Now, the fixtures are putting people off, Dean, because Arsenal were about to go on a tricky-ish run. They played Spurs, then Liverpool, and then Leeds. And then they have a blank game week. So I don't know if you're saying go buy him, but I feel like Arsenal are the team that will score against Spurs, and they'll probably score against Liverpool too, right? They're pretty free-flowing.
Yeah, I don't think you have to worry about the goals. And I think, this is what I was hoping for from Saka at the start of the season. Like you say, I was on him and I was pretty strong on it too. And then a few weeks back, obviously, wildcarded and Saka was gone. And I followed everyone else into Martinelli and moved elsewhere. And I'm a little bit frustrated by that because I knew that it was a game of patience and Saka wasn't going to stay quiet all season. And this is one of those gambles that happens over and over again in this game. You over the course of the season, you think back, you're like, if I'd have stuck with that player through this spell and let him have those dry couple of weeks and then taken all these points from the last 3 or 4, would I have been better off? And it's not really worth putting yourself through the torture of actually going and calculating it, because you won't feel great a lot of the time. But sometimes it probably is. And I do regret not keeping faith in Saka, to be honest with you. I think that a lot of the time when Arsenal are at their best, it's when Saka's at his best and that he's involved in the goals. And, getting 2 assists in this game is a big moment for him. I think in the last 4 or 5 games now, he's been getting some goal contribs. And, I think it's finally getting to the point where surely Saka is the choice now over Martinelli. It's a bit annoying because I've got Martinelli.
Yeah, and funds might be tight and it might restrict you, but yeah, it's definitely worth noting. He looks like he's back to his best-ish. A lot in the chat are maybe saying that there's better mid-priced assets. There is one, to be fair. I said he's the best 8 million-ish mid in the game. And my second player we're going to speak about in this feature is James Maddison. So Malayu saying Maddison over Saka, Kulu over Saka, Martinelli over Saka, Harrison over Saka. I'm not so sure. I would take Kulusevski's become a big rotation risk. Martinelli, look, for value, maybe Martinelli just edges it, but there's very little. And Harrison,
this guy's got something against him.
Harrison.
This guy's got something against him. This is personal. That's ridiculous. You can't say all those things.
Jerome reckons Bowen and Zaha. I mean, sorry, has Jared Bowen scored this season? I don't think he has. Has he got even registered an assist? I'm not so sure. Maybe one attacking return?
Barely heard his name mentioned. I mean, it's harsh on Saka. People are being harsh on him from what I see. But Bansberg makes a good point. Saka also has a blank game week 12.
Yeah.
It's a valid point. It's a valid point. But, and I think that's probably is the thing. Not only does he have that blank, he has difficult fixtures before that point. But you make the point, like, even though they are difficult fixtures, they are games that Arsenal will score in. This isn't the old Arsenal. This is an Arsenal that are top of the league. This is an Arsenal that are trying to prove that they're a new team. So, again, I'll talk about Arsenal a bit more in a minute. But, be careful, guys. Be careful on Saka.
Yeah, and look, a lot of love for Maddison. And I also get why. When people were wildcarding last week, they were looking for their 8 million mid. A lot went Zaha, a lot went Bowen, and a lot went Maddison. For me, Maddison out of those 3 is the absolute standout because Leicester are a team, no matter how bad they are, I always back to score 2 goals. I think they've got a ceiling of 3-4 goals, right? When you look at West Ham, their ceiling at the moment in the Premier League feels like 1-2 goals. So why would you go Bowen when Maddison is just getting time and space? He's in a team that commits numbers forward. And Maddison's got a point to prove. Like, he is playing for this manager. His post-match was amazing, as it always is. Speaks from the heart. For some reason, Gareth Southgate continues to overlook him, and he's not got that England place to play for anymore because he knows he's just not in the hunt. But the fixtures are so good, which is why so many of you on Wildcard went there. Let us know in the chat if you bought Maddison in. But he's got Forest, then Bournemouth up next, like two of the league's weakest defences. Then he plays Palace, Leeds, Wolves. Like, the next 5 games for Leicester are amazing. And I would say from all the players that I really want that I can't reach at the moment, it's probably Maddison because I can't get to an 8 million mid and we'll see our teams coming up. Dean, what's your take? Because Leicester have been rubbish, but they have got one outstanding asset. He's on all the set pieces. He said about getting his numbers up in terms of goals. He's playing advanced. He's a free role. Leicester still look like they'll score every game.
Yeah, they do. And then their next games are Forest, Bournemouth and Crystal Palace. So, it'll be interesting. Like, I'm wondering if Brendan Rodgers might be given a bit of time because of those fixtures that are on the horizon. I don't think there's an obvious choice to go for as manager. I know they were linked with Thomas Frank as their new manager over the weekend and potentially turning to him if they did get rid of Brendan Rodgers. Losing 6 games in a row. There aren't many managers that come through a period like that and survive it and then thrive afterwards. But Brendan Rodgers probably deserves time, given the fact that Leicester haven't actually been that bad. They've probably lacked a bit of thrust and cutting edge and ruthlessness, but they've been in most games, and sometimes they've actually been the better team, and they've been let down by, personal errors. They had Didi at the back for a little bit, which didn't work out. Justin James had a couple of off games, I remember. And they've just really been let down by moments. Like the Brighton game, they were really in it, lose 5-2. Tottenham game, really in it, lose 6-2. A lot of it doesn't make actual sense when you've watched the game. So I think Maddison, when you consider all of that and you've actually watched those games closely, makes a lot more sense as an FPL asset.
Yeah.
Is somebody you actually can trust.
Yeah, I think I'm with you. I don't think we've spoken about a player before, and the chat has been so pro this player. I don't think one person has said Maddison wouldn't be in my thoughts. If you're wildcarding in game week 9, I think Maddison's in everyone's team. I wildcarded game week 8, and he wasn't in, and it may have been just because that game week 8 fixture was tough, but he was someone I wanted to get but just couldn't reach. But if on a wild card now, I'd absolutely bring him in, and I'm thinking already come game week 10, how can I facilitate and move in that direction? But let's talk about the third asset, and we'll be fairly brief on this one because it's not as sexy. But actually, I just need to mention 174 of you watching. That's awesome. We didn't expect a really busy stream tonight because some people are switching off to FPL, which is why this show is hopefully brilliant because it's perhaps at times a bit of a lighter look at Fantasy Premier League. But only 39 of you have given us a thumbs up. Come on, guys, support the channel so we can continue streaming on Mondays and Fridays at 7. And look, my next tip is potentially the best 4 million asset in the game. On Wildcard, I spoke about my big dilemma. Nico Williams or Emerson. Which of the two do you go for? Well, the answer was neither. It's Nathan Patterson at Everton, who's just kept a clean sheet against Liverpool, then just kept a clean sheet again at the weekend against West Ham. Oh, and he's got Southampton up next. He's played 90 minutes every game. Everton look like a team. Now they've got Tarkowski and Cody at centre-back. They look like a team that might keep some clean sheets, Dean. Definitely more than Forest and potentially even more than West Ham.
Maybe, yeah. I definitely didn't think we were going to have this conversation. But yeah, he's finally a player that you want to consider. I've been thinking this for a while. I've expected it to be a situation ever since he signed, but it just hasn't happened for him. But I think that, finally it looks like they're starting to have something about them, this team. I wasn't really sure about their identity. I wasn't sure whether Frank Lampard had the capability to get a new rhythm out of this side, I guess. And it has been a struggle. There's no doubt about it. And I think they'll struggle again at some point. I don't have trust in the consistency yet. But undoubtedly, Patterson has become somebody that people need to consider. And Alex, fair play to you for bringing him in. That probably was a gamble at the time. But well, a good gamble, and it was a game that was probably more winnable than I gave them credit for. To be honest, I thought I had him down to lose that game at the weekend, and then watching it back, I don't know if it's because of the European football or what it is, but they came through it with flying colours, really.
Yeah, I was really impressed. West Ham never looked like scoring, really.
Yeah.
Getty, FPL. I mean, Liverpool the week before definitely did. It would work loads. Patterson or Williams on wildcard in game week 9. I would genuinely think what would swing it for me would be the game week 12 fixture. Now, you might say, why does game week 12 matter when bringing in a 4 million defender? Well, game week 12 is the week you're going to have to play your 4.0 defender because Man City and Arsenal don't have a game. And I guarantee, Geddy, you'll have 3 players from those, at least 3 from those 2 teams, right? So, game week 12, Nico Williams plays Brighton. Okay, that's nice. By the way, Emerson, I think, plays Liverpool, which is why I went Williams over Emerson. Let's have a look. I didn't even look. Who do Everton have in game week 12 when you'll have to start him? Newcastle away, so not bad. Arguably, Williams is a slightly better fixture, but Everton are the better defence. So, look, you'll get more attacking returns out of Nico. Where would you go here, Dean, given this is a tough one?
It is a really tough one, yeah. I mean, it's still going to be that temptation to stay on Nico because of all the reasons we've talked about before. I think people are going to find it hard to jump off him. Like I was just talking a second ago about riding the waves and the tough times to then pick up the points later on. That's probably the hunch that I would have.
I think
I think if I already had Williams, I would probably stick with him. But if it was a wild card, I don't think I would put Williams right now.
Yeah, I mean, Forest do look dreadful. Every week I go, their defense is going to improve at some point, and then Williams will be a good asset because of the attacking returns. We're just not seeing it, but yeah.
Absolutely.
Never give up, FPL. I'm so sorry. I like the stream so much, I forgot to like it. That's what I'm talking about. Never give up. We just forget, don't we? But thank you. That ticked up to 71, so I appreciate those.
Cheers, everyone.
Did give us a thumbs up. Hey, Dean, did you see we hit 3,000 followers a week or 2 ago?
Oh, yes. We've got there.
That is awesome.
What do we reckon by Christmas?
Where we were.
What's
don't know,
realistic by Christmas?
I
At
guess
least 4.
5,000 might
Yeah, I'm
be.
going to say at least 4, but I'm thinking we can be optimistic here and get 5,000 by Christmas. There's no, well, I guess the season ends though mid-November, doesn't it? We go on pause.
True. Although we might do some World Cup stuff.
Maybe we do. Maybe we crack on through that period and nobody else got anything to watch and they have to turn to us.
Hey guys, let us know in the chat. Would you be interested in like Dean and my take on like a World Cup fantasy? Like, of course, FIFA will have an official one. Should we be looking at pumping out some streams during the World Cup? And we'll do it around the fantasy game, of course. Like, might actually be an awesome excuse, Dean, to tap into your knowledge outside the Premier League, because so many in the chat will just watch the Premier League. I can maybe take a bit from Serie A and you from the other European top leagues. We might be quite useful.
Yeah. We on ranks the other day. We carved up our teams actually the other day for who we were going to become experts in. So I've got my 10 teams. I'll be in, as well as England and USA, which is a given. We have to be experts in those two. I'm going to be an expert within a couple of months on Spain, France, Netherlands, Mexico, Germany, Serbia, Qatar, Iran, Switzerland and Tunisia. So that is my task over the next couple of months. I've got a lot of research and a lot of football to watch.
That list started so well. Spain and USA and England, and then it ended with...
Do you know why? Because we did a draft to decide which teams we were going to cover. So we did a snake draft, and like we were going through to decide who was going to cover which teams. And obviously, halfway through, you're like, oh, who do I actually want out of this bottom 16? And that's where you end up. But I'm really looking forward to it, actually. And obviously, the international break now is going to give us all a chance to dig into it. But yeah, it seems like a few people up for World Cup fantasy. So maybe you'll see a bit more of us than I was suggesting just then.
Yeah, we're getting some awesome comments on that. I genuinely would be well up for it. So, guys, if you do want the content, keep your comments coming in. But also, we'll use that like button as an indicator of, do you want to see some World Cup fantasy stuff from me and Dean? But yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Mark says, guys, do you know if there'll be price changes during the unlimited transfers during the World Cup? That is a bloody good question, Mark. I'm not so sure, but I can find out for you. I'll ask a question or two from my trusted friend, Mark Southerns, who might know the answer to that. I feel like it might even say on the Premier League website. I feel like I maybe read somewhere that there was a freeze on it, but don't quote me on that.
Probably makes sense.
It would make sense. I don't think there should be too many price rises. I wouldn't be surprised if they freeze it at all. Seems a bit fairer if they freeze the prices for sure. You shouldn't be worrying about player movement during the World Cup. Big tip, guys. 2 players that don't have a World Cup, obviously, Haaland and Salah. They are going to be absolutely fresh and firing come January. You will want them. They're 2 shoe-ins if they weren't already, and you're thinking you'd have them in after the World Cup.
Yep.
I think it's time for the notebook, Dean. Should we check out your notebook?
Yeah, let's go for it. Oh,
there we go.
Right. So normally I would arrow in on players more specifically here, but yeah, a bit of the man flu meant I didn't quite watch as many minutes as I would have over the weekend. So I've decided to do like a trustometer for this week. I've picked out 3 teams that I've been very unsure of whether I can actually trust these teams or are they just going to be too flaky for me. Now, the first one I want to focus on is Arsenal, because obviously they had suffered that setback against Man United. And whenever that happened last season, any season before that, to be honest with you, they would then go on a run of draws or defeats. And they found it hard to bounce back and regain their composure and momentum. And this Arsenal team, has the youngest average age in the entirety of the Premier League. They have the youngest squad age. It's like 23.1, something like that. Anyways, it's young. The average squad age is young. And so that had me thinking, well, this is quite a tough moment then for them. Like, they've gone to Old Trafford. They've played well, but they lost. It was a big fixture. Lost it. So how will they bounce back from this against a Brentford team? We've got every reason to believe they can get something out of it. And what do? They smashed them. They absolutely smashed them. And so for me now, I'm like, okay, it's time. We have to take Arsenal seriously. For FPL Focus, Arsenal now has depth and character. And that hits nail on the head, to be honest. As a slight depth, I'm not completely convinced on. Character, 100%. Yeah, they do. Depth, central midfield, I still think there's one figure missing, and I still think we might find out that if Saka came out of that team, for example, and Smith Rowe was still struggling. I don't know. I don't know if they might still be one player short in that area, but we might not need to find out because there's only like another, not even that long of the season to get through. 2 months until we go on pause and they can collect themselves again and go back into the transfer market if they have to. So I think when you consider that there's only 2 months of the season for Arsenal to continue this momentum, to keep churning out these results, yes, they have to balance it with Europa League, but they are using Europa League as a platform for some of these players to then step up, like a couple did in the Brentford game, and take their opportunities. So yeah, I think Arsenal are proven to be the real deal. How good is Saliba, or just lucky? I mean, in FPL terms, he's lucky. And as a footballer, Saliba's absolutely brilliant, and like Arsenal needs to get this guy tied down because there was a lot of build up to whether wouldn't he get the chance to make his own space in this Arsenal side. He's made them so much tougher. There's no doubt about it. And weighing in with the odd goal helps a lot.
He scored like 3, isn't he? It's heartbreaking in FPL if you don't own him because he scores goals and gets the clean sheet in the same game. It's a 15-pointer.
I don't know if... I mean, I can't say... It's hard for me to sit here and say that this isn't a trend that's going to carry on because so far it is a trend that has carried on.
Score every other week in France. So this is crazy. He can't keep 3 and 8, I think he's on.
I don't think he did, but look, he's...
Oh, it's 2, but
he is one of the standout assets at the moment, and he's affordable and he's brilliant. And Arsenal have got an absolute gem there. Yeah. So whether it's Jesus up front, whether it's whoever it is pulling the strings around him, whether you want to look at the centre backs, the full backs, goalkeeper's good. Like Arsenal are the real deal this season. Don't think they'll win the league because there's Man City to contend with. They might be able to push for second. At the very least, they're in that conversation now for third or fourth. And that's a great place to be for Arsenal. They haven't been there for so long. Yeah. And I'm saying that I expect them to be third or fourth at the end of the season, given this start they've had. Like, remember, there was that stat I gave a few weeks back where whenever they've had a start as good as they'd had, they won the league. It was like 5 out of 5, whatever it was. They always won the league when things were that good. It's like, well, they can't do that because there's Man City and Holland here this time. But the rest, maybe.
Yeah. Maybe they can. Like, I don't know. Maybe we should be talking about them as potential. But I just looking at the numbers, I'm gutted because Saliba's been killing me, right? With the whole, he gets 15 pointers.
Get that off the screen.
The guy I really want to beat in my mini league owns Saliba, and he's getting these 15 pointers out of nowhere. The guy at St Etienne played 28 games, 0 goals. Yeah. Oh, he went to Nice, 20 games and 1 goal. Last season at Marseille, he played 36 games, didn't get a single goal. So why the hell has he got 2 already in the Premier League?
It's luck. And but no, fair play to him. I'm happy for him on a personal level. And as I say, he's affordable from an FPL point of view. But yeah, I think the thing that we've learned basically from this bounce back result for Arsenal is that we can trust their players, and that now when they do have a bad result, there's no need to waver and think, oh, do I need to get rid of... a lot of people were getting rid of Jesus before the weekend, and I think you should. I really don't think you should, because I think Arsenal are going to be up there, and if they are, they'll be creating chances and he's going to be converting.
Yeah. Okay, so would you get rid of Saliba if you're on a wild card this week, knowing the fixtures he's got and he doesn't play in 12, but you've got money tied up in him because he's gone up in value a few times?
Yeah, I'd get rid of him. Yeah, I might get another Arsenal asset, but probably be a midfield one. But I don't think I'll be keeping Saliba. I think he might have peaked. But Arsenal, anyone else, you're probably good. The other team on my trustometer, well, it's 3, but the second one is their North London rivals, Tottenham. And I'm like, okay, can I trust Tottenham? And honestly, I'm still on the fence. I don't
even
know
after
if I
that.
can.
Even after the 6?
Even after that, because it wasn't a 6-2 game. And if Son didn't have a bee in his bonnet to come on and score a hat-trick, I think Leicester might have got something out of the game.
Yeah.
I really do. And I think I saw somebody comment earlier, like, "Oh, want to see Dean's reaction to Son." He might have missed the start of the show when we were talking about it. What I said last time on this show about Son was like I was concerned about his form, and I thought for the first time there was probably reason for him to be dropped. And I was right on both of those things because he was dropped, and he was never dropped. But what that decision did is it made Son feel inadequate. And it's the first time he's been made to feel like that in a long, long time, if ever in his career.
Yeah,
He
he's
didn't
been big
like
fish,
it.
isn't he?
Conte knew that. Conte knew what he was doing. There's two superstar players in that Tottenham team. It's Son and Kane.
Yeah.
And that's going to remain the case. You just needed him to rediscover a bit of that drive because, he's probably been a little bit put out by the arrival, first of Kulusevski and then Richarlison trying to take his shirt away from him. Nobody likes to have somebody trying to take their job off him. And he hasn't even been terrible. He's had a bit of bad luck along the way. Had a couple of very average performances. But yeah, FPL River, they should turn Son into a super sub. I'm not sure I'd be happy with that, to be honest. He wants to be just a superstar, not a super sub. Going back to what I was saying, I don't trust Tottenham. And going into that derby, I'm not sure what I'm getting from Tottenham, because what I do trust, and sounds a bit weird, but like Conte is producing a team that wins and produces results.
Yeah.
He doesn't produce a team that produces convincing performances.
Yeah, never.
And
really
that makes them
has.
really, really hard to judge from an FPL point of view, because I'm not sure exactly what you're getting there, because they still concede goals. But their games are always so. I know they won 6-2, but it was a marginal game that was won by a super show performance from Son at the end. But it was on a knife edge at 3-2.
Same as the Champions League a few days before that, and they lost that 2-0, but they won. I think they beat Marseille in the first round of fixtures in the Champions League. But again, that was on a knife edge till Richarlison
Fulham the game
header.
before 2-1, and there's been a couple like that. I'm trying to think who the game was before Fulham. West Ham drew 1-1. So it's all been pretty finely balanced, and yeah, I have to say, I think I'll be back in Arsenal as it stands right now. I'll be back in Arsenal to win that game. Home
advantage there. I think I'd back if I was putting a tenner on, and someone said, "Yeah, here's a £10 charity bet. Where'd you go?" Arsenal to win. I think both goals score and Arsenal to win.
Yeah, big shout out to us though. We said Perisic would start at right wing back, and
I love that. I tried finding the clip. I spent about 3 minutes trying to find the clip, maybe 4 or 5. I was just going through, where's it going to say Perisic on screen? Because we probably answered a question on it. I couldn't see it, and I was like, I'm not going to trawl through finding it. But it was almost worth finding it to post, because I knew it would have done well on FPL Twitter. Us going, he's play him at right wing back because he's so 2-footed. And that game, within the first 20 minutes, he had taken a corner with his left foot, a corner with his right foot. One corner got the assist. The other corner was a disallowed goal that was a foul on the keeper. I'm not so sure it was. And then he goes and does another corner after about half an hour, and Sanchez heads it onto the bar. He nearly got 3 assists in the first half an hour just from corners. And the poor guy only finished with 2 points because he got a yellow card.
I know.
And he celebrated the goal. And then obviously they conceded for -1, and he came off before 60. So somehow he got 2 points.
It was a real killer, having Perisic in your team for this one, because he did have a good game. You're like, that just doesn't reflect what happened. Come on. But yeah, obviously we're all sticking with Perisic because we know we're going to get rewards, and especially now that he can play on either flank. So he's at the moment always going to be playing. Thank you, Martin, for the nice comment. We appreciate ones like that. We try to know what we're talking about.
I saw one a minute ago saying we're our favourite FPL pod, so that's always good to hear as well. And Henry Savel's in the chat as well. He's a Spurs season ticket holder, is Henry, and he says he's going to catch up on 1.5 speed because he missed the start of the stream. So he watches all of our pods, but he watches us on 1.5. I wonder what our voices sound like on 1.5, because I already speak fast, so it's like, yeah.
Do you know what? Someone I used to work with at Bleacher Report used to listen to all pods at ×2 speed.
×2? Ooh.
Yes. That is impossible. I was like, that is not enjoyable. That is a challenge. You can't. He goes, oh no, it's fine. I listen to loads of podcasts, so I just like to get through them. I was like, that is absolute madness. How do you do that? Your brain is not normal. Congratulations.
FPL Josh, 115-point game week. That's obscene. What did you do to get 115? Did you triple captain Son or something? I used wildcard game week 4 instead of all the other chips. Josh, how did you get 525 points in total? Where would that put you? I'm just seeing how many points I've got in total. I don't actually know the answer. I'm guessing you would be, hang on, in the overall 525. Okay, wow. So the winner of FPL at the moment, the leader, is a guy called Christian Finland, who has 562. So you're only, 40 odd points off the top. And he's used his triple captain. He or she has used triple captain and wildcard.
Wow.
Useful.
FPL Big Head listens to all pods at ×2 now.
Oh, it's a thing. It's clearly a thing.
Wow.
Okay, we should probably move on. I think we've got a couple more features to get to. I've
got one more team. Very quickly. Nottingham Forest, do not go anywhere near them. Do not go anywhere near this team. They're no good. They are no good. Like, they just can't produce results. We're going back to their first game of the season when they beat, who did they beat first game? Was it West Ham? Yeah, first game. They beat West Ham 1-0. And then you're looking back at it now, like the last few weeks, 3-2 defeat to Fulham. They lost 3-2 to Bournemouth, 6-0 to Man City. They lost 2-0 to Tottenham. They drew 1-1 with Everton. Like, forget it. Like, Nico Williams, you can still pick him if you want because he's cheap and he's going to crop up here and there. But honestly, they've got a decent run of fixtures coming up, but it doesn't really mean a lot, to be honest, because signing 21 players, it turns out, is as dangerous as it sounds. They didn't have much choice because I think they had 16 players that left in the course of the summer, by the way, which wasn't reported that heavily. But yeah, just wanted to say, like, on the trustometer, Nottingham Forest are bottom of it at the moment.
I'm loving this trustometer. Okay, good stuff. Guys, I want to see if you think Dean maybe beat me this week. Maybe you saw our teams. Spoiler alert, I wildcarded and he didn't. And it was a very, very close one between the two of us. So who got the more game week 8 points? Let us know in the chat. Was it me on a wildcard or was it Dean? Let's have a look. Here we go. I got 60. Did Dean beat that or not? We'll find out in the next couple of minutes. Wasn't the best wildcard, Dean. I had a little bit of sort of post wildcard regret.
Mm-hmm.
The three big hitter approach worked because De Bruyne, Kane, Haaland, Shaw, they all got points.
Yeah.
But I was watching Gordon and I watched Bailey. Both their games were on Sky.
Yeah.
And I watched those games going, why am I having to start these guys every week? Like, I just know I'm going to get so many 2s and 3s out of them. I guess the good news is most weeks, Reece James is in that 11. Occasionally, Andreas or Nico might be. So those could both be on the bench. But relying on players like Bailey and Gordon for goals and points, it's not great. I would much rather be able to have an 8 million mid and Maddison. But to do that, it meant no Kane. Now, no Kane would have been fine if I went Isak, who, by the way, I think his owners got fairly lucky. He didn't really look that engaged in the game and he had the penalty, which gets him 3 bonus as well, 9 points for Isak.
Yeah.
But yeah, other than those two, I'm fairly happy. Like Trippier hit the post, could have had more. Newcastle double clean sheet, Dean. The in that game, Newcastle, that was the least their goal had been troubled all season in terms of expected goals conceded. Sod's law, Bournemouth go and score. And I've got mates that had triple Newcastle defence on wildcard. So that hurt a bit, that Bournemouth goal.
Yeah.
And other than that, you expect Mitrovic to turn up against Forest. But the guys that should do it kind of did. Cancelo, man-possessed, no attacking involvement, no goal or assist, still gets 3 bonus points. That's how good he is. De Bruyne, 2 beautiful assists. And yeah, Kane got the assist for Son, thankfully. So it was 2 involvements.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm still on a wild card, though, Nuclear Atom says wouldn't go Pope. I still think I would. Newcastle defence is still good. Don't let one game change that.
Yeah, they are still good. Yeah, no. I mean, that result, that's not how that game should have ended. I mean, Newcastle should have won that game. So I think you can, the trustometer, I would say you can trust Newcastle, to be honest. And I think you can certainly get good rewards out of having a double up in the defence of, a defender and goalkeeper, or even 2 defenders if you wanted to go down that path, because I think that they're fine. What they're lacking is probably a cutting edge at the moment. They've got Isak, but he needs people around him to create, and, St. Maximan and Wilson or whoever else they managed to bring in. because they will in January, I'm sure, bring in another creator. That they just need a bit more life in that final third, a bit more thrust, I'd say. But that defensively, I think Newcastle will return points. You said a bit of bad luck there, to be honest.
Yeah, I think so. Okay. Yeah, it was fine. It was a bit meh, but it was fine. And I guess moving forward, I can't look at Bailey and Gordon and think I need points from them because I really don't. Like Reece James will be in that 11 every week, and then it's one of Bailey, Gordon, Williams, and Andreas for a starting spot. I think I'm comfortable with that. I think I'm comfortable
absolutely,
with that.
yeah. Not bad, mate. I think that's fine. That's not a bad game week considering what we had in front of us.
Yeah, true. How did you get on?
1 point less than you. 1 point less than you.
Oh,
I should have started the silver and I got the same points as you. I should have brought him in for Andreas. But yeah, it was a bit of a frustrating
captain.
one.
You went Kane captain.
Kane captain.
Ballsy, that is. Took some minerals going against Haaland and his 80% ownership.
It did, yeah, it did. And it was mainly, I think I said like before, I don't like to put the armband on a 12:30 kickoff because it ruins my day. So I managed to ignore Haaland and then just hope that Kane got a goal. So when he scored, it was just relief, really, and see what else came along. I mean, out of 6 goals, I'm not going to lie. I watched the most of the first half, and the second half I didn't manage to watch it, and I couldn't believe it. When I saw 6 goals had gone in, he hadn't got any of the last ones. I was like, this is absolutely ridiculous.
Son was greedy. He could have squared it to Kane a couple of times, and he shot himself.
I mean, fair play to him for that, to be honest. But Bernardo brought him in, obviously. Got some points out of him, so that was something. I'll be honest, like Bernardo's not staying in my team, I don't think. Like once we get to the next set of fixtures, I'll be looking to move him up. He's 7 million, so I've got like 5 million in the bank, so I can easily move him up to somebody else. Yeah, so they've got Man United, haven't they? So yeah, it might be Salah. So it might be something like that. But yeah, all in all, like 59 points. I said, like, honestly, 55 and above, I was probably going to be all right with. Hunter says, told you, Dean, take a hit on keeper. The thing is, I'm glad I didn't, because what I would have done is I would have taken a keeper out and I was going to pick Pope.
Yeah.
So I'm glad I didn't, because that was the one thing I was going to be tempted by, and it wouldn't have done me any good at all. So
yeah, you had a net loss, and who else could you have gone for? I mean, you wouldn't have gone Arsenal because you know in the fixtures they've got coming up. You could have gone for a Henderson at Forest. Well, he conceded 3. You would never have gone for the Villa goalkeeper. So you could have gone Raya. He conceded 3.
Yeah. It was literally Pope was my only genuine one I was considering. So I'm glad I didn't. But yeah, so it was fine. It's absolutely fine. Look, I'm 29 points behind you. That's not a bad place for me to be. I'm happy with that.
Yeah, you can turn that around in 1 week. You really can. And that 11's looking fairly strong because you put Reece James in that 11, and yeah, you're in good shape. And knowing you wildcarded a fair few weeks ago, we've had questions in the chat. Did you wildcard? Because it looks like a team that could have just been fresh off a wildcard. So you've managed to keep it very current, I'd say.
Yeah, it's okay. It's just about staying relevant at the moment. I mean, it's definitely going to be a couple of headaches on the back of an international break, but most people will have that. There's, as you say, James comes straight back in. So the back 4. Bringing Sanchez in goal against Liverpool. That's not going to fill me with optimism. But the front 3 will be fine. This is the midfield that's going to be a bit light because there's the Bernardo situation to transfer. Martinelli's got Tottenham at home. We'll see. Like, I'm keeping him in the team. Andreas, he'll have Newcastle at home, so like that's fine too. Like I think honestly, Fulham have got a decent chance of beating Newcastle. Michael is Dean, go for Guaita. Well, yeah. I might do at some point now. Like, I don't think I'll be sticking with Sanchez like long term. But we'll wait and see. I want to see this new manager. As obviously, like Brighton got a new boss now, so we'll see what their style of football's like.
Yeah, and De Zerbi, guys, for those that might have an eye on Brighton players or might own them already, if you've got Brighton attackers, I wouldn't be looking to sell them just yet. This is a manager that likes to attack. His Sassuolo team are really expansive. It's hard to know because this is a very different team in terms of resources. It's a new league for him. But I think that this Brighton team could be a load of fun. Dean, at the bottom of the screen, we've put our our league code. If you do want to join it, guys, you're more than welcome. Join a league with me, with Dean. Look, I mean, there's some serious competition in this league. We'll show you now the guy that's current or was top from the weekend just gone in terms of points for 1 week. He got an 88 pointer. He captained Son. His team's in good shape as well, is Nick Davis. So yeah, he's looking sharp.
That's a good bench as well, by the way.
I think he wildcard. That looks like a team fresh off a wildcard. Yeah, wildcard played.
Wildcard played. Yeah,
it's a really
Fair
good
enough.
team.
It is a good team. I like that. That is a very strong team. Dean, I wouldn't have in it, but there's options there. Like Tete plays most games for Fulham. Emerson will be a decent player at West Ham. Zaha, what a great player to have the option of bringing him for after the international break, and now Son, who's in form suddenly, alongside Maddison, who everyone now wants. De Bruyne is going to be one of the assets of the season, and he's a good front three. So yeah, that's a really nice team.
Yeah, I like that. So guys, if you do want to join, please do see that code at the bottom of the screen. Also, we had some questions in the chat about, guys, could you maybe look at having a community team? Maybe we'll do that for, I don't know, maybe we'll do that for the World Cup, or maybe we'll do that next season. But the idea of a community team could be quite fun. So there would be my team, Dean's team, and then each week we would ask the chat for votes. So we'd create our team and say, okay, where's our transfer route? Do we take a 4-point hit? And you guys will build it with us. That would be pretty cool. Maybe we look to do something like that in the World Cup as well.
Yeah, that could be quite cool. Yeah,
like that. CH is a fan, and it was CH's idea. So thank you for that. Inspo. Guys, still liking and subscribing, I hope. 117 of you have given us a thumbs up. Thank you for the support. We do these shows every Monday and Friday at 7, whether it's international break, whether we're off for the winter break, we'll still be here. So Mondays and Fridays at 7. You can be sure to join the chat and join our FPL Insight, our Chasing Green Arrows community. Next up, guys, before answering your questions, I think we've got a very quick fire FPL Visa.
Yeah, let's put Gianni on the spot for a few minutes here. FPL Visa, we go through 9 names: accept, reject, delay. Get your opinions in too in the chat. We do read them all as they come in. So we'll start with one that we've already discussed today. Saliba, what would you do? Accept, reject, or delay?
I'm going to say if you own him, No, this is about buying this player. Yeah. It's got to be reject because they don't play in game week 12 and it's 2 tough fixtures. I think Arsenal concede both to Spurs and Liverpool.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. FPL Focus said accept. That's interesting.
He's an Arsenal fan, though, Focus.
Oh, okay. Everyone else is saying reject or delay, so that makes a lot of sense. I'm going to move on from that one because we've covered him so much today. But Ruben Diaz, what are you thinking of that one? Was that
I would say delay. He's
delay.
Now he's fit, and yes, sure, Kanji's back in and playing well. Ake's getting minutes, but we know Diaz will play 8 in 10 Premier League football matches at City, right? And we know they will keep tons of clean sheets. Now, if you don't own Triple City, you should. Is that Haaland and 2 defenders, Cancelo and Diaz? Or is it Haaland, a midfielder, and Cancelo? I think it probably is. But if you want to back the defence, a Diaz-Cancelo double up, they keep tons of clean sheets. They just will. But for me, it's all about Cancelo if you only want one defender. You find the extra funds. It's absolutely worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, the next one on my list is a certain Eric Dyer.
Ooh,
the goal machine that is.
With his goal. And do you know what? We've still not seen a sort of free kick goal under Conte for Dyer, but he is on a lot of the direct free kicks. And we saw him score for England against Russia back in Marseille all those years ago. I was there in the stadium and we all thought Wayne Rooney had scored. We were in Rose Ed. We just we assumed it was Rooney. We're like, what's Dyer doing for taking free kicks? He should become a bit of a goal threat because they've got the set piece coach. He's really good in the air and then he's on direct free kicks, but he's never really been a goal scoring centre back. I think he's still reject because the value should be in wing backs. And if Perisic is going to play right back and Sessegnon plays left back, Sessegnon at 4.5 is going to be the standout option. You save money on Sess over Dyer.
Yeah, 5.1 million Dyer. He's selected by 6.6%. Total points so far, 33 points so
That's
far for
good.
Dyer this season. It's 6 more points than Perisic has got.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting one because genuinely that is not a player I would be really considering to have in my team. But at the moment, he is more valuable than having Perisic. So yeah, interesting. Most people did say delay on. Oh, there's quite a few accepts actually. There was more accepts there than I actually realised. So that was interesting. Right, let's move on to midfielders. Another Tottenham player, Son, for the next game week. Remember, it's Arsenal. Accept, reject, delay.
I'm going to have to say accept. We said, didn't we? Don't go near him until he scores. He didn't just go and score. He scored a hat-trick in, 15 minutes? The worst thing that could have happened for Spurs now and for Son now is for there to be 2 weeks with no Spurs fixtures.
Yeah,
he would have
true.
wanted another game in 3 days' time. But I still think that momentum will carry him forward and he'll become an accept.
Yeah, Son's only selected by 10.4% of people at the moment.
Ooh.
So that is actually quite interesting, isn't it? Given he's on the back of a hat trick now, and see how that rises, see how much faith people still have in him by the time that international break ends. Harry says reject. Pantelis says reject. FPL River, Son accept. Did you say FPL River's an Arsenal fan?
No, Focus is an Arsenal fan.
Focus was an Arsenal fan.
I'm
Sorry,
not
I was
sure
like,
River
what? Hang on, let me
supports.
just check that out. River, let us know you support.
We should know. Like we know you. Well, I feel like we know you guys so well, but we don't all know all your teams. So feel free to let us know what teams you do support. We'll try and remember.
Yeah, I like to know that for sure. But yeah, that is definitely an interesting one. And Cross in North London. I mean, talking about that fixture, what about Saka on an accept reject delay? Would you be picking Saka for that game if you could?
Is River a Chelsea fan? I think he might be. He'll let us know. I think River's a Chelsea fan.
Have you just had a brainwave?
I've just had a brainwave. Sorry, I completely lost momentum in that. And Nuclear Atoms is a Real Madrid fan. I'm just looking at the names, testing myself. Sorry, Dean. Ask me again.
Saka.
Oh,
would you have him
in? Because I put him in the eye test report. I'm still going to say delay though because of those 2 games, then the blank. But I think after that, I'm looking at If he's still playing very well, I want him in my team. He's a brilliant FPL option. We all had him at the end of last year, and he was so good for us.
Yeah. FPL River said to me, Dean, don't call me an Arsenal fan. Chelsea through and through. Sorry, mate. That was very insulting of me. I won't forget that now, though. I won't forget. Especially as I'm a Fulham fan. Right. Phil Foden. He's next up on my agenda here. Accept, reject, delay.
If you only have double City, get the third City asset. And if that's Foden for you, that's Foden for you.
You love Foden. Would you get him
I do. And do you know what? I don't even love him as a footballer. I've always loved him as an FPL asset. One thing I look at in FPL is touch maps, average position maps, heat maps. And Foden always performs so good on in terms of how close he is to the goal. He always finds himself in good central areas. He always gets loads of penalty area touches. And in a City team that's always playing towards that goal with 75% possession, I always think Foden should get more than he does. And actually, he sometimes underwhelms a bit, but he has all the ingredients to be a phenomenal FPL asset at that price at the 8 million band, because he should be more when you look at it. He plays in a front 3 for the team's best attack, and he's a mid-price mid.
Yeah, it's a weird one, isn't it? I mean, a lot of people say accept, but Vindy says, I have him, but reject. So a lot of people want him, but the person who's got him says doesn't want him. It's a really tough one with Foden, but at some point he's going to bang. He's the tough thing now is the Grealish situation, because Pep's desperate for Grealish to succeed in this team, and he feels he's going to, and it's starting to flourish now. That's another headache for Foden. Foden set and forget, says Sherwin. That's an interesting one. Here's one for you. Fulham's almighty hero, Harrison Reed, finally scored his first goal for us against Nottingham Forest.
10-pointer the week I take him out. That was the only week I would have ever played Harrison Reed, because I wouldn't have got 11 players in. Reject. If you want a 4.5 mid, get Jack Cole back at 4.3 and save the 0.2 and just have a third sub sit and roll on the bench.
The only thing, right, with things like this is when the players waited so long to score a goal, it's one of those where sometimes, like, very quickly they follow it up with another one, because like they've discovered this like new knack, this new hobby, and then they like score one, and then suddenly like the next week they score again. So I don't know, people, you never know. don't don't surpass Harrison Reed. He is a great player. Everyone's saying reject though. Okay, what about Alex Isak? Would you have any temptation there? He's a bit of a strange one because
I didn't
he's
get
not.
all the love. I didn't get all the love on wildcard. Everyone was going Isak over Tony. And I know Tony got 2 points and Isak got 9. I genuinely think Tony's the better FPL option. So
Yeah.
I'm going to say delay. And also Wilson's going to be back after the international break. Now, I think they both are in the 11, but Isak could be pushed wide. Could become a front two, but I think Howe likes his 4-3-3. And I think Isak could be quite wide. So I'm going to say delay at best.
Oh, yeah. Okay. That's interesting. Right. The last player that we're going to talk about on FPL Visa this week is Sir Harry Kane of Tottenham Hotspur. 11.4 million, 19% selected at the moment. He's got Arsenal away next, which is fine. That's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
And he's then got Brighton, and he's then got Everton. So it's a run of 3 games there where I back Kane for goals. I've already got him in my team, so I can't really be in this conversation. What would you do, mate? Accept, reject, or delay on Kane?
I'm going to say accept. Given the choice, I would probably go Son if my team allowed Son over Kane easier, but you have to stay on Kane if you're there. And I'd still encourage buying him with those fixtures. He always scores against Arsenal.
Yeah, he does. Almost everybody is saying, except Vindy, get him in, except Steve Sedman, who is a Spurs fan, I think he just said a minute ago. I remembered that because he reminds me of the player Steve Sedgley from back in the day who played for Tottenham, and I've used name association there to remember that he supports Tottenham. He says get him in, never give up, says Kane is in. Big accept from Michael. Yeah, there's a lot of love for Kane there, which... well, that's encouraging for me because I've got him.
Yeah, we will be holding these guys. Good stuff, guys. We have got a couple of minutes to answer your questions up next. We can move straight on to the questions. Let's go really quick fire. Grant, we're going to do 3 or 4 as quick as we can. Eze and Zaha double up. Dean, yes or no?
No, I don't think I'll be doing that.
No, not for me. Roberto, Saka or Bernardo Silva? I'm going to go Saka.
Yeah, that's totally fair. Pantelis, what do you think getting Jota in my team? I think probably go for it, to be honest. I think that Liverpool looked much, much better, and Salah in particular looked much better having Jota alongside him. The most important thing for Liverpool right now is getting Salah's confidence back. If that means that Jota starts, then albeit. So yes, Jota gets the heads up.
Paul Cook, what do you think about Costa for Wolves? Too old. Do you know what? Costa is younger than me. Although I look quite old at the moment. But I would wait and see on him. 5.5, he could be good value. But he's not played since January. He left Athletic Mineiro back in January. So I don't know if he's going to be match fit for a while.
They need him to bang. Wolves desperately need that to bang because they look like they are just blunt at the moment. Right, Tom, thoughts on Fofana? You probably answer this one because you're
more... I just need to see how Potter's going to line him up. We've seen one Champions League game. He played Aspi at the right centre back. Cucurella's now for left centre back. I would be swerving Fofana until we see him in the Premier League at least a few times. At 4.4, though, it's a great route to that Chelsea backline when he becomes a starter. And it is a case of when, not if.
Yeah, that's fair. Kevin, what do you reckon about Kane and Haaland over Salah? I mean, I think it's fine. I mean, for that first game week back, the dilemma that you have is that Kane and Haaland are both involved in massive fixtures, whereas Salah is going to be going into a home game against Brighton. So that's the conundrum that you're going to be left with there.
Yeah. De Bruyne in on wildcard? Yeah, absolutely. Make sure your wildcard has triple City. Don't be put off too much about that blanking game week 12. You can bench them or you can sell one by then.
Absolutely. Leeds assets worth going to? Not a lot. Harrison might be worth it. I've got Aronson still in my squad because I'm convinced that over the course of the season, he's going to come good. Like he's playing really well, and I like the way he puts pressure on people. And it's kind of why I've got Andreas Pereira still too. Like the way that those two press, they're always up that top end. I'm trying to think.
I like Sinistera at 6.5.
Oh yeah,
I think
he'll be.
I think those Leeds midfielders, Harrison, Rodrigo when fit, Aronson, Sinistera, I think they're all going to be potentially good options on their day.
Yeah.
And the fixtures aren't
Sinistera
bad.
looks good. Yeah, he does look good.
FPL Focus asked about best Gundogan replacement. I would say if you're selling Gundo, you've got third City spot up for grabs. Therefore, replace with a third City. Can you reach Foden? Even Grealish, I wouldn't. Or Bernardo. I'd go Foden though. You know I would, Graham. But I'd stick with City there.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if he played Grealish against Man United, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that'll be a good test. That will be. Guys, it's been an awesome hour. I've loved the chat. I've loved our engagement tonight. It's reminded me how much I enjoy these streams, especially after doing one when I wasn't so well last week. So, guys, thank you for all the support. Before you leave us, if you don't already subscribe, shame on you. I hope you sort that. But if you haven't already liked the stream, then do give us a thumbs up before you leave. But for now, guys, he's been Dean. I've been Gianni. We'll both be back on Friday at 7, and we've been chasing green arrows.